Alright, so I've been talking about making a video about these ABS plastic drift rings I've been using. It's kind of like a 10th scale drift tire, which you can't really buy anything like that, so that kind of stinks. But I didn't really like the PVC idea that a lot of people have. It just looked bad to me, and I wanted something black, so I looked around and found ABS plastic in 4 inches. I had these up on eBay for a little bit for like 20 bucks for a set of 4, but couldn't really sell any of them. I guess people decided to do it themselves, which is fine. But yeah, I just buy that and then I chop saw it. You got to be kind of careful because it can be kind of crazy doing a chop saw with the circle like that and kind of want to pop it back at you, so you got to be careful. I took wood shop for a few years in high school, so I'm kind of familiar with the chop saws, but yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just kind of go over and talk about how to adhere them to the wheels. This is my ultimate. I got my Rally in the other room. I'll pull up here in a second, and you know, we'll talk about. I just want to give some tips about how to make it drift and do what you want it to do. Might make a few videos about this. This one's really just going to be about the wheels themselves, and then you know, if you want more information, you can look at the other videos. I kind of scrolled by this thing. This has been my new toy. It's kind of dorky because it's a scooter, but at the same time, this thing's pretty wild. It'll do 55 miles an hour, and 60 volts, and has 1400 watt motor. So I make on my other videos on my YouTube, I make some videos about this too for the guys that are into these, but it's essentially like riding an RC car because it's got lithium batteries, or Li-ion batteries, and it's like a Tesla that you can stand on. It's rowdy, but yeah, if you ever want to know what it's like to ride a RC car, this is the closest you're gonna get to that. Yeah, let me go into the other room and get set up, and I'll show you guys how to put these tires on, and you know, just give you a few tips about when you first start playing with the car with them on there. Alright, so that's my drift Rally there. I've been working on this thing for a few years, trying to get it to do what I want when I'm in drift. Wheels are over there, and this is kind of the rest of this thing. Get these little pins off and show you what I've got going on here. Now you'll see the stock VXL setup in here. I know everybody for their speed runs likes to go with a better motor. This thing is great for drift. It never gets hot. I've got a fan on here just for when I switch my tires out and I want to do some speed runs, but I mean, without that fan on there, full drift session, you might hit 110, you know, 120 degrees here in Florida, wide open the whole time. Yeah, it puts no strain on this VXL. That's why I think it's a great drift car. You know, if you have a 4x4, everybody's like, oh, get rid of that VXL, it's going to overheat and everything. Well, not on a drift car. It's an amazing motor and ESC for a drift car. It's more than you need. You can't really do more than 2S with one of these because you just won't have any control. But if you keep it at 2S, the throttle response is awesome. But yeah, I'm going to get the camera set up here and I'll show you how to make these. That looks pretty good. Move this guy out of the way. Alright. So, number 1. Get the ABS plastic wheels. You gotta cut them. They don't come out perfect when you cut them. Sometimes you gotta kind of file them and make them look a little bit cleaner, but you're gonna shred these things up, so don't worry too much about how they look. They're pretty dusty when they come, so I take this here, alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. I get the higher rated stuff. This is like $1 at the store, and I just use it to clean everything up pretty good. Just take a paper towel, get it nice and wet, very wet, nice and wet, and just clean. So get this nice and clean in here, And that's because we're going to be sticking some 3M tape around the outside of the wheels. If you just put the wheels or the drift rings over your wheels, a lot of times they'll just fall off. I don't know why it does that, and in the videos that you see about the PVC stuff, it doesn't. Maybe this inner diameter is a little bit smaller than the PVC, I'm not sure. But you know, I go full, I'll do 20 packs on one of these, so these will last me about 20 hours, and you know, you're bound to be sliding and hit a curb and knock one off. And if you do this, it won't fall off, they'll stay on there really good. So you want to go ahead and clean this up. These are just a set of my wheels that came on my Ultimate. I like to blow this out with compressed air, and then I come in and I get this real wet again, and I just wipe them down. Get them all nice and wet again and clean for when I go ahead and put the tape on. One thing I don't have here, I just realized, is a pair of tweezers. And you will need a pair of tweezers to do this. So essentially you just peel this off. You get this on Amazon, it's pretty cheap, and you run it. This is going to be for the outer side of the wheel. You just run it around the whole outside. You don't got to get too fancy with it. You can try to make it look real nice, but there's no reason to, because you're not going to really see it. I've sat here and tried to get it perfect. I don't know, I've probably been through 10 sets of these things. I've got really into drifting with the, it's just fun because it's a bigger car and you can do it anywhere. With the little drift cars, you got to kind of find your perfect surface, but outside with the 10 scale, this thing will romp over everything. So you can see I got it in there like that, all the way around. And then what you'll find is the inside likes to kind of kick sideways if you don't put some on the inside. So you just put one on one side of the wheel, and then you can do one on the other side of the wheel. You could even do 3. I've done 3 before, but this tends to work pretty well. And you just kind of line it up in there, and then it's time to put your wheel on. You take your wheel that's nice and clean, and I like pushing them through. So you go like this, start pushing it in there, and just kind of push on it. Then you take a little bit of time to make sure everything looks nice and even where you're going to want the wheel, because you don't want the wheel going whoa, 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 whoa. So you just kind of take a look around the outside edge and make sure everything looks pretty even. And then where the tweezers come in is you just come in and you kind of peel this back and you grab that with the tweezers and you pull it out. You grab, see this one, this drift ring I made a little bit too wide. So I really need to move these in a little bit. They're fine being wider like this. And you could even do them dished where you push this in a little bit, you know, and have like a dish look. I don't like that. But you know, I'll have to fix that if I keep this wheel set up. I was just kind of using these to show how I do it. But yeah, so you just peel that off, and I like to let this sit overnight. When I was putting a lip on my car, I used some of this tape, and they said that you want to, they said in 20 minutes it adheres 50%, and in 72 hours it adheres 100%. So I just kind of let them sit overnight once I let them stick, and I'll put them on there, and then I'll kind of like push around the outsides, and then call it a day. Let them sit overnight, install them. Now I'm gonna do a couple more videos about, you know, setting up the car for these, but the one thing I want to say is once you put these on, the first 2 to 3 sessions are gonna kind of suck. They need to wear down a little bit to your camber specs, and when they're like this, they're real slippery, they don't really grip. So go find yourself a nice driveway that has a little bit of like that light colored grippy cement, and just spend the first 2 to 3 packs on that, learning how to drift. It's going to grip more. It's going to be more fun to drift with, and then it's going to start to take the curvature of whatever your camber angles are. And you don't need a whole lot with these, but it's nice to have some when you're pushing through the turns. So don't get discouraged if on the first 2 or 3 runs with these, it's not like exactly what you thought it was going to be. But I can guarantee you, even if you don't do anything to your car, by that 4th run that you go and put on these, you're going to be like, wow, I'm pretty good at drifting now. Like these things, because they start reacting how you want them to. And then all the way to the end of the cycle, they get better and better and better, and start listening to you more and grip up more. And then you start over again from scratch, and it kind of sucks again, but you're such a better drifter that it's kind of fun going through that cycle. So it just makes you keep getting better and better and better. But about 10 drifts in, you're going to be pretty optimal with them. And that's when you can start looking at like what your car is doing. Like, oh, it feels loose in the back, or, you know, it feels like it's plowing too much, or I need to change my diff fluid to get the rear end to rotate around a little bit more. There's a lot of different things I found that you can do with your suspension and camber angles and stuff like that to make it drift better. And I'm going to make more videos about, you know, setting up the actual car, you know, how you want it to do what you want it to do. You can see mine's really soft. This is not for bashing or jumping. This is, I want this car to handle. So I'll talk about, you know, the oils that I put in my shocks, the shocks I'm using, stuff like that. But first and foremost, I just wanted to get you guys on some tires. If you're interested in this, get out, start playing with it. And then in a couple of weeks, I'll probably put up another video, you know, kind of step by step of the next thing that I found makes the car grip up and listen to you better. So yeah, if you're interested in making a 10th scale drift car, you know, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll put up some more videos as I go. Yeah, you're going to see some of my scooter on there too, because that's been an interest of mine lately. It's been fun ripping around on that thing. But, you know, if you don't like those videos, don't watch them. But, all right, guys, have a good day.